Hello, everyone. Justice Watchag here with another episode. I want to give voice to the victim of violent crime. In this case, the violent crime is murder, bloody murder, and the victim is Dan Markel. He was a Florida State University criminal law professor. He was a well regarded and well known scholar in his field, and he had the misfortune of marrying a woman who was probably borderline and psychotic, and also with a family that was extremely toxic, and they set him up to get shot 2 times in the head in his driveway. And we are now counting down convictions. The three X's you see on your screen are the three lowlifes that are sitting, rotting away in prison because of being involved in the murder, but it was orchestrated by the Adelson family, which is obvious and evident by all the wiretapped recordings where they basically explicitly say that they set him up for killing. They don't say it explicitly, but you can figure it out. If someone's trying to extort them for money for a hit they put out and they're not calling the police because someone is trying to attack them, instead they're trying to figure out how to make the problem go away because they know they put a hit on someone. I'm oversimplifying it. It's a lot of recordings, a lot of guilty behavior, a lot of money exchanging hands, and it's evidence and proof. And Charlie Adelson's trial is starting October 23rd. I put X's on the people who've already been convicted, and I have circles over the heads of the people who are going to be convicted next. And I have the word simp written over top Harvey Adelson, even though maybe he could be charged with maybe being an accessory after the fact. I personally don't believe he had anything to do with destroying his family by setting up this murder. And I know people make arguments about, all this money being paid to Katie McManua by Donald A. I don't think he was auditing the books or looking, every little thing. I think that Donna Adelson was running the home and running this show, and Charlie, and it was under obviously the direction of Wendy Adelson. Tragedy on all counts, but we're 3 for 3 right now. I want to give voice to the victim. I don't want to just focus on horror and all that. Today is Dan Markel's birthday. It would have been his birthday. It's October 9th. And he would have been, I believe, 51. I was trying to show this. This is Prof's blog. I might be saying it wrong. It's one of his legal blogs, and there's a lot of interesting stuff on here. And I wanted to show some of it to you. One of it, where is it? Maybe I accidentally here it is. This is one of the books. It's called Privilege or Punish, Criminal Justice and the Challenge of Family Ties. It's written by Dan Markel and 2 other authors that you can see clearly written there. And one thing to show the betrayal on that dedication page, where authors say, I dedicate this to my mom, or thanks to my mom, thanks to my spouse. Here's the first line: for Wendy, my everything, my world, without end, DM. I'm going to show you something else which I found interesting. It was off this prof's blog, but it's up here, the pictures. It's here. This is, the brother is the brother of Wendy Adelson, one of her brothers, not the one that set up the hit, the one that's a medical doctor. He married an Indian woman. I have something to say about that because I think it was something in their family about not wanting him to be married to an Indian woman or something, some kind of upheaval. I wanted to show you them at the wedding. Here they are. Happier times. That's Dan Markel, and that's the woman that set him up for murder. I'm going to play and let the victim's voice speak. I want you to hear him because we lose sight of the victim. All the trials, all the focus on the people, the perps that committed these crimes. This justice is about the victim. Seeking justice is vindication for the victim. That's what this is all about. And I want to show you the victim, him talking at a 2012 in Washington, D.C. at a, what is it called? It's like a lecture series at the Federalist Society. I'm going to show it and play just a few moments, and that's how I'm going to end. Happy birthday to Professor Dan Markel. He's not forgotten. We want justice for the victim.
Much to Nick and to Eugene and to Todd and all of my co-panelists, as well as to the wonderful folks at the Federalist Society who have been so exceedingly generous to me for this last year. It's an honor to be here and share some thoughts with you about this big project that I've been working on this last year. It's unfortunately an incredibly and exceedingly long piece, and unfortunately Eugene got tasked with reading about the 130 pages of it. So it's probably going to become the basis of a book, and I look forward to getting your thoughts about it. And let me just sort of give you a few of the bullet points of the argument, and then if you have questions or want to follow up later, you can find me and or download the paper on SSRN. So the paper is about the tissue connecting democratic citizenship with retributive justice. And the argument is that contrary to some of the leading criminal law theorists like Michael Moore or Doug Cusack, who insist that in order for the criminal law to be retributively just, it has to be predicated on moral wrongdoing, I argue that we need to, or that we can, as retributivists, loosen up on the criminalization question and move beyond the insistence on moral wrongdoing as a prerequisite for justifying retributive punishment, at least in liberal democracies. And that qualification of at least in liberal democracies is really quite important. In addition to the thesis that there's more flexibility in terms of what plausibly justifies retributive punishment than simply the existence of evidence of moral wrongdoing, I also argue that retributivists have to show some respect for democratic lawmaking when it applies to sentencing, but the sentencing issue is distinct from the criminalization question, and if I'm right that there is some kind of way in which democratic authority can generate new moral obligations for citizens, then there are at least some counterintuitive implications that arise, and I'll tell you what they are. So first, it seems to me that as a matter of moral obligation, which is to say non-prudential reasoning, we are morally obligated to obey not only laws that seem quite obviously correct, mala in se laws that are obviously liberalism compatible, laws that would ban, say, rape or murder or robbery, but also what I call dumb but not illiberal laws. And that said, there are actually two kinds of laws that we are not morally obligated to treat as an independent reason for action. Those laws which are spectacularly dumb, as opposed to the permissibly dumb, and those laws which are illiberal. Now, if I'm right that there's more leeway for democracies in sort of carving out a space of what might be called the permissibly dumb laws that might bind us in criminal, vis-a-vis the criminal law, then there's a slightly peculiar upshot of that when we think about this from a comparative perspective about what regimes are able to do. And that's to say that within liberal democracies, I argue that that the scope of conduct that's legitimately criminalized and justly punished is larger than what would be justly punished in bad or wicked regimes that are not liberal democracies. So that's the sort of the core thesis. Now, I don't plan on sort of showing you much of the scaffolding behind those claims, but I'm happy to sort of at least cash out a few of those with some examples so that you can get a better sense of where my thoughts are. So one of the things that I had been working on, I guess I've been working in the realm of punishment theory for the last dozen years or so, and I've always been one of these punishment theorists who, rather than focuses simply on the moral question, also looks at the political theory issues associated with punishment as a state institution. Now, what I hadn't done before is sort of give a whole excursus, I guess, on or extended disquisition on sort of what is the nature of our political obligations. And so